Odrog Culture presents Odrogs in Hotpods. I'm Odie.
And I'm Rogue.
And together, this is Odrogs in Hotpods.
Not enough hate, but there is a lot of love. And here we are, episode 5, the penultimate episode of Odrogs in Hotpods. Penultimate episode, season 1. Because aren't we coming back for season 2?
I think so. Depends if the fans decide that that's what they want.
Whether they like it or not, sometimes you're just going to get what you get. And same goes with Star Wars. We've had so much fun taking you along this journey of our Hyperspace Hot-Takes, having our guests come on to debate some very hot debates. This episode, we have Tiff They versus Lexi Galaxy. It's going to be one for the ages because, of course, Tiff is alumni. And we're going to be arguing that Filoni-Verse is greater than the sequels. Alexa Galaxy is our positive. Tiff They is our negative for the argument. It's going to be a hot debate, and I hope you're looking forward to it.
How do you go up against that? We're about to find out.
We are. We're going to find out. Rogue and I, we operate as the adjudicator on our tutor debate, making sure that people have an even playing field.
Keep it civil, everybody. Keep it civil. All fans are welcome.
Last episode, we had some serious slandering going on. Not against each other, but definitely against some content. Look, we're about the love of Star Wars.
Almost like a hut body slam, wasn't it?
Get that Rotterbot in there, you know. Slap me those 6-packs.
That chiseled Rotterbot.
Oh yes, baby. Oh yes. Besides talking the Rotterbot, we're also going to be talking a little bit of Shadow Daddy, a little bit of Darth Maul today, because no doubt he'll pop up in the conversation as he tends to always do. Rogue, you're here with me.
I am.
How are you?
I'm so ready. I'm so ready for this episode today. I've been loving the additional interest we've been getting on the pod this past week, and I'm keen to get into it today. It's going to be a fantastic episode and a topic that I think a lot of our fans are going to really enjoy.
This episode is all about the Filoni-Verse. Everything that Dave Filoni has kind of touched. I don't think we're going to break it down in 15 minutes, but we have tried to just talk about the moments that are most important to us. The moments that made us go, yes, Star Wars, yes, yes, yes. And other moments that made us think, hang on a second, is that right?
Is that a contradiction I see before me?
I'm going to have to be honest with you. I found it really hard to find some dark side hot takes, but I know Rogue's going to help me out there.
Yes, I should be able to cover you there, spot you there, Odie.
I'm just a big Filoni fanboy. What can I say?
Yeah, you do love yourself some Filoni.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I can speak for all Star Wars fans that just about all of us were pretty pumped when Dave Filoni took over as executive president of Lucasfilm. What a glorious day for the future of Star Wars.
Some people tend to agree with you, some people don't, but that's what makes Star Wars beautiful.
Oh, well, I'd invite them on the pod and I can debate against them.
Absolutely. Hey, that's a shout out to everybody else in the Star Wars fandom. If you have someone who doesn't like what you say or that you would like to have them come to the forefront and bring their points forward, this is the platform to do it on. Invite them on to Odrogs in Hotpods, where we debate. Now, season 2 probably isn't going to come out until next year. We're getting some things in the pipelines, getting some things sorted. Going to break next season up into 3 parts. We're going to release 3 episodes at the start of the year, 3 episodes in the middle of the year, finishing off the year with 3 extra episodes. That's 9 episodes for next season rather than 6 that we had for this season. In an ode to Star Wars in itself, the first 6 is, of course, an ode to how we entered Star Wars with the prequels coming into the 6 films that we got until we got older, and then we got into the 9. So next season is going to be 9 episodes to honor Star Wars in itself, and we're going to break down some of the stuff that we're going to be talking about today. So
we're ready to get into it, aren't we? Do you want to kick us off with your light side hot takes, Odie? And remember, there's only a few of them. You can't talk light side hot takes for the entire episode.
That's going to be the hardest thing that I'm going to have to come down to. Is I wanted to start us off with Clone Wars. I've got to say that the exploration of Jedi within this season, within these seasons, is some of the best things about it. I really enjoyed delving further into Quinlan Vos, of course. I really loved delving further into Asajj Ventress and getting to know that character. I enjoyed getting to know the clones, and it just made episode 3 and the fall of the Republic even more heartbreaking and heart-wrenching. And I can see it happening right now. So I've got some best stories around the Umbara arc episodes. with Pong Krell. And of course, it's heartbreaking to see the fall of the Jedi in such an effective way, where Pong Krell is so disillusioned that he takes his ferocity out on the clones and his inability to see their humanity. And it's such a rewarding experience to see the clones join together to oppose orders that don't always follow through to what the best movements of society really is. And it was such a powerful arc that it really sits with me. And at times I felt uncomfortable through it. And I think I'm supposed to.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I was going to say, Odie, I think that's something that is we really need to capture here, is that Filoni really understands emotional investment, doesn't he? He's excellent at delivering those emotional moments that feel earned, that connect us with the characters.
Absolutely. I'm going to mention the Mortis arc, of course. You know, being a huge Qui-Gon fan, seeing Qui-Gon return in that story arc was one of the best things. And I really love that balance also, and that element of mysticism that Dave Filoni has brought back into Star Wars that I think it kind of got missed through the sequels. And to see it throughout the Clone Wars was beautiful. And the Mortis arc is one of those things that digs deep into that fantastical lore that Star Wars has to offer. And I think the Mortis arc is a representation of that. And hopefully we're seeing that come full circle within the Ahsoka arc. And I know those peeps have been cooking. They have been cooking hard.
I'm really excited for it.
The introduction of Ahsoka, it didn't start off to a great point, but somehow she's grown to be one of my favorite Jedi of all time. And watching her growth and development, I have to talk about when she leaves the Jedi Order. It hits you so hard because you know that that's exactly what Anakin wants to do. That he has an opportunity. He can see that it can work if he leaves the Jedi Order. And I think he actually starts to realize this at the end of season 7 when he sees Ahsoka again and goes, hang on a second, she's still there. Who are your favorite clones? Top 5, go.
I mean, it's got to be Wolf because he's the clone of my boy, Plo Koon. And I think Rex would be second. Yeah. But I think Hunter for my third. I love the individuality of the Bad Batch. I'd probably follow it up with other Bad Batch characters.
Were you going Wrecker or Crosshair or Echo or Tech?
So Wolf, Rex, Hunter. I think Wrecker. And then probably Crosshair because he's got that turmoil within him. Wouldn't be in my top 5. How about you, Odie?
Hauser, he's my number 1. That hairdo, what a guy. And I love in how his arc in the Bad Batch, you know, he sees what's wrong with it, and so he turns around and says, you know what, I'm not gonna support the Empire's reign here on Ryloth, and I'm coming back in, and stands up to Crosshair in those moments. Number 2, it's tricky, but I love Wrecker, but I also love Commander Bly, Ayla Secura's commander. So that's 1 would be Hauser, 2 would be Wrecker, 3 would be Bly, 4th would be Rex, and 5th, Fives. Yeah, and I'll get into it. It's because of the 5 story arc around realizing the
wasn't overly appealing,
and its problems. And I think that's a really important story of the Clone Wars, if not one of the main stories of the Clone Wars, especially coming into season 7 when you see the survival of Rex. And I think if you don't have the survival of Rex, do you have everything that happened in Rebels that involved Rex in those processes? Or was Rex just a filler? So I launched from my Hyperspace Hot-Takes, my light side, moments of the Filoni-Verse into Rebels. And my God, I could list 1,000 of these bad boys. But you think about the introduction of the Inquisitors and seeing the menacing ways of them. You see the battle on Malachor with Maul and the reintroduction of Maul in his old man or old master Maul, you know, seeing the use of the holocrons working together to find Kenobi. And let's just bring the story to a close and watching Maul die from the form of Qui-Gon Jinn brought by Obi-Wan Kenobi. Seeing that Maul was so predictable and stuck in his ways of living in the past. And those comments of, look what you have become. And then Kenobi says, look at what I have risen above. And I think that's the whole purpose. He then shows those words in his lightsaber duel, and it's swift, but it's so monumental and so impactful that it's just so beautifully done.
I feel like if they ended the entire Star Wars universe right at that moment, all the fans would have been okay with it. It was so beautiful, the way that it ended, with Maul laying in Obi-Wan's arms, and the realization that Luke, who he's protecting, is the chosen one to bring balance. It was very poetic, that ending. And I wish it was done in live action, or that they gave us a live action version. The cartoon was equally incredibly spellbinding, but to see it in live action.
Well, and I guess this is what's going on in AI at the moment, is what people are dealing out and trying to present to us, which we'll get into actually next episode. But I wanted to carry on a few more around my light side moments of Rebels and the Purgle, and seeing the finale of Rebels leading into the Ahsoka season, which is some of my favorite Star Wars, just because I love that fantasy-based stuff. And Lord of the Rings is such an inspiration to the Ahsoka series, I think, as well, around the way it's structured and presented. And I think without Filoni, you wouldn't have such Dathomirian lore. And I think that's really, it's impacted Star Wars lore so much in what he's presented or what he's produced in those spaces, that it is exciting and it's exhilarating, and it's
added a whole nother dynamic to the Force that we never really thought of or considered. And that's what's amazing about Filoni, is he's added depth beyond our understanding of what the Force was and what it meant.
And I think as Freddie Prinze Jr. has voiced him, the character of Kanan Jarrus is, and here's probably a big hot take here, but he is the epitome of the perfect Jedi Knight.
Wow, that's quite a claim.
He's in my top 4. He's got to be.
I mean, you've changed favourite Jedi Knights like you've changed your underwear,
That's
really.
That's not true. Quinlan Vos, number 1. Tied with Qui-Gon Jinn, I would say.
I was going to say, what happened to Qui-Gon? See, look, he's gone already.
Quinlan, I've always said,
replaced by Kanan Jarrus.
I've always said Quinlan Vos, Qui-Gon, tied number 1. Then I would say Kanan Jarrus.
Hang on a second. Folks, I think we need to wind this back and listen to a previous pod. I don't think that's accurate at all. Go check out our other episodes, folks. You'll see that Odie's pulling a Swiftie there.
Yeah, we'll see about that. Then I would say Ahsoka Tano. So they're my 4 top Jedi. And I think Kanan Jarrus is one of the greatest Jedi of all time. Light side hot take, Maul Shadow Lord. It is one of the best animated shows, and in my opinion, probably the best animation that we've ever seen. An honourable mention to the Tales series. I really enjoyed those for what they were. There might be some situations with characters you weren't happy with, but we'll get into that in our dark side hot takes. How about your light side hot takes, Rogue?
Sure, people might not be overly stoked with Dave Filoni and his work, but all I would encourage those people to do is to give it a go. Don't rule him out and decide not to go and see any of the other content, because such is life. Sometimes things are going to be great and we're going to really enjoy them, and then other times they're going to rub us up the wrong way, and that's okay. I've focused on moments in my hot takes tonight. I'm going to kick us off with Ahsoka leaving the Jedi Order. Clone Wars Season 5. I think this might be the single most important character moment in modern Star Wars. After being falsely accused and abandoned by the very people she trusted. The Jedi aren't evil, but they are flawed. And I think it's one of the first moments that truly show why the Republic and the Jedi were destined to fall. And I think that was the underlying backstory to that moment. For me, it was 10 out of 10 Filoni moment. Kanan Jarrus' sacrifice. Star Wars has plenty of heroic deaths where we're not craved of heroic deaths, but few hit as hard as Kanan. And I think there were so many things that happened in that moment that made you think, hang on a second, is he going to die? Or he saves the ghost crew, he saves his love, the love of his life, Hera. And in that final moment, he regains his sight through the Force, which I chuckle because he didn't get to enjoy it overly long, but it was a perfect conclusion to his arc. It was the ultimate sacrifice. It was about what being a Jedi is all
definitely.
about. Genuine sacrifice, no resurrection. One of the franchise's strongest Jedi moments, I think. Really epitomized him as a Jedi Knight.
Are you saying that he is one of the best Jedi Knights ever to have existed?
I don't know whether I'm saying that. Did I say that?
Sounds like you're saying that.
And my next one was the Siege of Mandalore and Order 66. So Clone Wars final season. Everything fans hoped the final Clone Wars would be. Ahsoka and Rex surviving Order 66 while the Republic collapses around them remain one of the most emotional sequences in Star Wars. I go back and watch those episodes repetitively. They tied into the movie beautifully. Seamlessly. The image of Ahsoka burying the clone she fought beside for years. Oh, wow. Incredible tension was created in that moment, despite us all knowing the outcome for those of us who've seen the film. Beautiful animation, emotional payoff after the 7 seasons. Filoni connecting his audience with the emotion of the moment. He does it so well.
That whole Darth Maul arc, from the moment that he's revitalizing himself from the trash, his brother finding him, right through watching him destroy Mandalore in the hope of destroying Kenobi because of Satine, watching him kill Satine in front of Obi-Wan. It was just so mammoth and so hard. And you can feel Obi-Wan in those moments to the final battle of Mandalore. Just incredible storytelling right through to when Darth Maul is killed by Obi-Wan. That interlock between characters, he tells that story beautifully. And now filling the gap with Maul Shadow Lord, just from the moment that Maul was reintroduced, even killing Adi Gallia. You know, there's just so much around Maul that I love.
And I think, you know, that's one of the strengths of Filoni. You know, I think we all have great faith because he honors what came before him. He honors George Lucas and his legacy. He was George Lucas's top apprentice, his top Padawan, and he honors that. He honors George's legacy and George's ideals like a son.
Yes.
Would his father.
Yeah. And
I think he understands the importance of those connections with the Star Wars lore, with the previous films. And yeah, we do need to talk about that. Hyperspace Hot-Takes not talking about the connection between Dave Filoni and George Lucas would be doing it a disservice. Luke Skywalker arrives. We've spoken about it. The Mandalorian Season 2 finale. I mean, the internet exploded. This could also double as a dark side hot take for me, only because they tease me with my favorite Jedi. You know, and Filoni, like you said, being a Plo Koon fan. Come on, man. Just let us see Plo Koon. Why couldn't they have come together? You know?
I've got
2 X-Wings. Not as monumental and moving as 1 X-Wing.
But Plo Koon died.
Did he, though? Did he? You know, we've seen Darth Maul be cut in half. Did he die? I don't think so. We've seen Inquisitors have a lightsaber put straight through them. Did they die? I don't think so. A lone X-Wing arrives, 1 Jedi, green lightsaber. You know, viewers are watching Pete Luke Skywalker in action. A faithful portrayal of Luke. Perfect use of nostalgia. That honouring George Lucas and how he wrote Luke into the universe. He honoured that. He honoured it, and then he took it to another level. My final one, Ahsoka meeting Anakin again.
Oh, yes.
Crikey.
Beautiful.
So emotional, tugs on the heartstrings. Whether you loved the series or not, that sequence, and for those Filoni haters out there, that I would encourage you to go and watch that scene in Ahsoka. For the first time since Clone Wars, Anakin and Ahsoka confront their shared trauma. It's not fan service, it's character therapy. And watching it play out on the screen was like, hang on a second, am I actually seeing this? Are we finally getting this moment? I remember feeling the butterflies inside me. And just the sheer little boy excitement inside me going, oh my God, we're getting this moment. Closure for both characters, brilliant performance by Hayden Christensen, one of the strongest scenes, I think, in the Ahsoka series.
In all of Star Wars, I'm saying.
Yeah, I would agree with you. We
can't go through this, though, also, and there's so much for me. There's so much good stuff for me to talk about.
You even jumped into my hot takes and added another one for yourself.
Yeah, Balin's skull.
I know. Dark side hot takes, Odie. You've got to have 1 or 2, surely.
I've got 2.
Let's have a bit of a dig around. Come on, Odie.
Does Filoni just give in to fan service, and has he turned Star Wars into a snake that eats its own tail. He's just reintroducing characters that he's already given us rather than offering up new ones. So is he just feeding into fan service consistently over and over and over again that we keep bringing it back into itself? Sometimes there are moments as well. So that was my first dark side hot take, is that does Filoni just give into consistent fan service or just purely market his own stuff? Sometimes there are moments that stories become irrelevant and we as audience members lose interest. And I bring back the sisters again. It almost lost me in that last season to watch that pacing change of going from the Bad Batch into that story arc of Ahsoka. It didn't really build character for me. And when it comes to Rebels, there are some slow episodes, but in Rebels, there's callback to those slow episodes. It builds character relationships. It enhances the development of stories through the fact that the characters are building rapport together. So my dark side hot take here is that sometimes there are fillers in series that make me feel disconnected to the larger story. Sometimes you get that on kids shows. I get it. But all in all, Rebels did a fantastic job of having minimal filler when it came to character development. Whereas having things like, once again, I mentioned the sisters coming in, sometimes feel a little bit off. Once again, Star Wars is for everyone. That might not be your take on it, but it definitely is mine. And they're my two dark side hot takes. But I guess my question for you is that was there ever a time when you're watching a Filoni show, primarily Ahsoka series or Rebels or Clone Wars, that you felt distant from the story?
Well, just how the Purgle essentially would solve every problem for the heroes, you know? It just became a little bit...
In Rebels?
Yeah. Just became very repetitive.
Interesting. I don't agree, but okay.
Okay. You like that? You like that element?
I love the Purgle.
I like the Purgle. I do like the Purgle as a creation. Yeah.
Don't be jerking the Purgle, mate.
I'm gonna jerk it. There's gotta be
Don't do that.
The Purgle. There's gotta be some
They're not sperm whales.
There's gotta be some contentious topics that we talk about.
No, that's
having said that, I'm going to get into my dark side hot takes because you're probably not going to like them. What a perfect segue we've got going on here. Number one, Sabine survives being run through by a lightsaber.
Yes.
A scene that should have had enormous consequences. Instead, Sabine is back on her feet remarkably quickly. In earlier Star Wars, and we've talked about this a lot, a lightsaber.
Don't do it.
A lightsaber like this would usually be fatal. Many fans felt like that moment existed purely for shock value, not necessarily because it has any significance to the story, and I would tend to agree.
Yes, but Qui-Gon could have survived.
My second one,
yep,
and this is going to be contentious, and you're not going to like this, but that the world between worlds saves Ahsoka.
But Ezra saves Ahsoka.
Yeah, but does it? Does he? Her sacrifice should have remained fine. And again, this is probably the one element of the Filoni-Verse I don't agree with, is he loves to bring back characters after he's killed them.
We did talk about that, yeah.
And I think it removes consequences and it opens difficult lore questions. And I think it creates confusion amongst the fan base.
Yeah, but Ahsoka went back into the temple.
Yeah, I understand. I understand that. But it's still a dark side hot take. I mean, you're not going to like any of these because you're an absolute Filoni fanatic.
I'm on the Filoni-Baloney.
You are on the Filoni-Baloney. I like that one. Marek's entire existence. Mystery box without a reward. Disappointing. I'm really disappointed.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, though.
Marek, and you, Dave Filoni.
Maul Shadow Lord.
Creation.
Marek is aura farming, left, right, and center. He's dangerous. He's dangerous. Offline Spybot. Rest in peace, Spybot.
Maybe this is what our debate next episode needs to be on. The Filoni-Verse in these moments.
Go on.
Also in Ahsoka, So for a series I really loved, I've sure got a lot of negative things to say about it. The New Republic ignoring everything. Imperial remnants were everywhere. Warnings from Ahsoka. Warnings from Hera. At times, the New Republic came across as unbelievably incompetent purely because the plot required it to be so. But was that Favreau that fixed Filoni's mistakes?
Oh,
Oh, I know it's getting spicy up in here. I know a lot of people have no time for Favreau and all the time for Filoni and vice versa. But maybe Favreau's finally come to the
table. He's not playing, boys.
He is not playing. And some honourable dark side mentions.
Dishonourable.
Yeah. And I think you're going to agree with this one. And I'm actually surprised you missed it.
Go on.
I reckon you're going to be like, Cad Bane's underwhelming death.
No, he's not dead. He's not
really
dead. You talk about Dave Filoni bringing back dead guys. He's the one.
He's the one. Actually, you know what? Probably. I hope so. Because otherwise, right now, it's going to stay.
And also, what's bad? What's underwhelming about being gunned down by Boba Fett? Well, if that isn't the Quacta calling the Stifling slimy. That's my Cad Bane.
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, I thought you did. I could see it in your face.
Yeah.
For the viewers out there, you could see the proud brother moment. There it was.
How do you know? I had my Mandalorian helmet on. And my boy, Moff Gideon. That's a callback to another episode, folks, just in case you're wondering. Moff Gideon somehow having another secret base. I got a secret base. My secret base. Is it?
That's a Favreau. I think
you're just trying to throw Favreau into the fire tonight, aren't you?
It's because I'm on the Filoni-Baloney.
Throwing Favreau into the fire and dancing around with your Filoni-Baloney. And that wraps up my dark side hot takes.
We've got our Echuta debate.
Oh, this is going to be good.
This is our last Echuta debate where we feature somebody else on the episode coming in to do the debate. This is our final one.
No, it's huge.
Next episode, it's a doozy because it's Rogue.
We're really going to subject you guys to that.
Rogue versus Odie. And we're talking fan film versus Disney.
The blasters
content.
will be out. The incinerators will be out. I'm bringing back the Darksaber. Let's get into it.
Echuta. And welcome to our Echuta episode 5, our last official fandom debate where we welcome Tiff Oben and Alexa C. Galaxy to battle it out, where the Filoni-Verse is greater than the sequel trilogy. As always, you'll be marked out of Star Wars lore, evidence provided, and delivery of your point. 15 marks per round, equating to 3 rounds, which will give you 45 marks. We welcome to the positive side of the debate Alexa C. Galaxy. Lexi is a powerhouse to the female community of Star Wars and offers more than just the love of the galaxy far, far away. She is an avid gamer, Nightwing fanatic, Dick Grayson fan from the DC Comics, of course. Gets into junk journals, collecting lightsabers, wears the hell out of a Miles Morales Spidey costume, and is constantly providing quality content that is positive and purposeful. If you aren't following her yet, I'm sure you will soon.
Hi, I'm Alexis. I auditioned for American Idol. That was something I did when I was 16. It was a dream that I had. So my mom said, when you turn 16, you can go. So I went. And I made it to the second round, and then I was cut by a producer. So it's okay. But it's fine. I did what I wanted to do. Secondly, I love to game. If I'm not watching Star Wars, I'm gaming. Doesn't have to be a Star Wars related game. Cozy gamer, fighting games. And then thirdly, I work 2 jobs and I'm getting my master's at the same time. So I go on 0 sleep. I go on a lot of caffeine, a lot of coffee.
I'm really excited about this one today, Odie. Joining us once again is a familiar face to our Odrog in Hotpods community. You probably know her from @tiff.oben, her Instagram handle, a Star Wars creator, collector, cosplayer, member of the UK's 501st, and one of the fandom's biggest champions. Tiff first joined us on episode 3, where she took on Alderaan Baby in our Echuta debate. If you haven't listened to that episode, make sure you go on over and check it out. Tiff, welcome back. It's so good to have you back.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here. Excited.
Now, before we jump into everything today, I wanted to ask you a little bit more about your lightsaber combat group. And
Okay.
Can you tell us a little bit about it? What's, say, the biggest surprise that you found by joining the group? And tell me, is lightsaber combat a lot tougher than it looks on screen?
It is when the biggest surprise is that you don't know your left from right, and which is my problem when, I find it really tough and they're like, left, hit the left. And I'm like, my left, your left? I don't know. But yeah, I really struggle with that. I'm really good at learning choreography because I was a dancer for the whole of my life. But yeah, if you're just shouting instructions and that depend on hitting left and right, I haven't got a hope. But it's the Saber Guild. It's an international organization. It's Lucasfilm recognized. We have to have, there's very specific rules for costumes, and you have to sort of put it forward exactly the same as the 501st. And then we go to lots of cons and we do lightsaber training for adults and children, which is really good fun. Just end up talking about Star Wars all day long, which is amazing. So that's what we do, yeah. And I'm a Sith. I don't know if I probably
sounds really great. That sounds really great, Tiff, and thanks for sharing. Good luck for the debate today.
Okay. Without further ado, Lexi, please take us away.
My first point is that Dave Filoni was handpicked by George Lucas himself to continue being the successor of Star Wars. When they came in with the Clone Wars, George Lucas was looking for someone that was well-versed in animation because George wanted to start on this animated journey. He picked out Dave Filoni after seeing what he did on Avatar: The Last Airbender and the amazing storytelling that he was showing with some of the directing of those episodes. So he pulled Dave and they came in and they created the Clone Wars together. Now, since then, Dave has continued on with the Star Wars legacy and thankfully came back for Clone Wars Season 7 whenever it was picked up by Disney and is now helping Disney and is the co-president of Star Wars over Disney as well. I think when you have someone that the creator of Star Wars handpicked himself now over things like the Clone Wars, the Bad Batch, Rebels, as well as a consultant for the Mandoverse and co-director, I feel like in terms of comparing that to the sequel trilogy, which wasn't necessarily handpicked by George Lucas and didn't go with the way that George Lucas envisioned the sequel trilogy to go, it gives it more of a leg up. George Lucas is the one that created the world of Star Wars. I think that I am more leaning towards what he had envisioned and who he picked to success him over who Disney would have picked to success him.
In response to George Lucas handpicking Dave Filoni, it's true, and he's sort of molded him, but sometimes it feels like George Lucas has got too much control over Star Wars. I know it's his baby. I know he created it, almost 50 years ago. Some of the really good stories have come from other makers that haven't got that link to George Lucas. I'm thinking about some of the Legends stuff. Somebody having that full control and hand selecting people sort of stunts some of the storytelling. The sequels took bigger risks and introduced genuine uncertainty to the Star Wars universe. One of the greatest strengths of the sequel trilogy is the willingness to take creative risks. Rather than simply telling familiar stories, the films challenge long-held assumptions about who can be a hero, where power comes from, what the future of the galaxy could look like. I'm thinking, for example, who can be a hero? We see a stormtrooper, Finn, several stormtroopers actually throughout the sequels, because we get Janna and the other people that she escapes with. They've escaped the New Order. They're fighting against it. And I found that really, really exciting. It's anybody can be a hero. Greatness isn't reserved for famous families and legendary bloodlines. And I think this idea reinforces the hopeful message at the heart of Star Wars that anyone, regardless of their origins, can make a difference. We also had Rey for 2 of the films. She was a no one, but then she became a someone. The sequels also explore themes that previous Star Wars films rarely examine in depth. So The Last Jedi focused on failure, showing that even heroes and legends make mistakes and that growth can come from setbacks rather than victories. We get Yoda saying the greatest teacher failure is. Luke Skywalker is presented not as an untouchable icon, but as a flawed individual struggling with the weight of his own legacy, and this makes him more human and his eventual return to heroism more meaningful. And I think Kylo Ren is one of the saga's most complex villains. He doesn't fully embrace the darker light, but he's always struggling with it, and I loved that about him. You get a bit of that with Anakin in the comics, but they really played with it with Kylo Ren in the sequels. So I thought that made him really unpredictable and exciting.
I absolutely agree where the sequels did take risks. Unfortunately, I don't think they went far enough with those risks. this. I think teasing Finn with the lightsaber and having the Force and not really sending it home, which I understand was due to cultural reasons and the way that they wanted to sell the film in other countries. But I think that they didn't take it far enough. And you were talking about how the films deal with failure. I would argue that Clone Wars and The Bad Batch and Rebels all deal with that. I'll go with Ahsoka with my argument. In the beginning of the Clone Wars, probably seasons 1 through 3, you see Ahsoka as a Padawan, and her story, she has amazing character development because when she's first coming in with Anakin, she's not listening at all. She doesn't want to hear anything that he has to say, and she is making mistakes left and right. And then as you see her come to fruition as a Jedi, even though she's not a Jedi anymore, you see the character development and the maturity and the fact that she can take her mistakes and learn from them.
I don't envy us right now, Odie. I think this is going to be incredibly hard to score the entire debate. And I think it's not going to come down to the subject matter. It's really going to come down to our two participants and covering off on Star Wars lore and the points and the clear evidence. And so far, they're both doing it without much failure at all. So I'm a little bit worried for us.
Round 2 for Filoni-Verse is greater than the sequels. Let's just keep on going. Lexi, take it away when you're ready.
The Filoni-Verse is so big in the IP that it has Clone Wars, Bad Batch, and then on to the Mandoverse with the Mandalorian and Grogu in the Book of Boba Fett. Not only is there stuff for adults and young adults, but there's also things for children. Well, I would argue that the sequels, it's a little bit harder for children to watch those. You have some violent scenes, especially in the first one, and I mean all the way through the third one. It would be a little bit hard to show that to a 4 or 5-year-old, whereas a 4 or 5-year-old can come in and watch Rebels and you don't have to worry about having to shield them from things that you don't want them to see in terms of violence. I would also argue that when you're coming into the sequels, especially because we hit the ground running with the sequels, we introduced characters like Han Solo and people that we've seen before in the original trilogy. You're coming into the story kind of midway. All of these things have happened, and if you're coming in as someone who's never seen Star Wars before, coming into the sequels is going to be hard. There's all of this context that you don't know. Whereas with the Filoni-Verse, I would argue that you could start with Rebels and not have to know who all of those people are because they're going to introduce people like Princess Leia through the seasons. I think it's an easier jumping off point with the Filoni-Verse than it is with the sequels where you're dropped in the middle of the story.
I would say there's some pretty major violence in the Clone Wars. I'm thinking about when Maul kills those children. Do you remember that? And, there's some decapitation by Maul again. He's a pretty violent guy. And I would say there's some terrible heartbreak in Rebels in season 4. I don't want to give any spoilers away, but I sob watching that and I find it really hard to watch. So I don't know how, sometimes I wonder why, if these things are actually for children, because their themes are so adult. And I think that you do need context watching, when you start watching Clone Wars, I found it quite hard the first time because you don't know who these people are. These clones with Yoda on Felucia, and it takes quite a while to get in, and it's not till you get to the end, and then you're like, oh, I love these people, and you go back to the beginning again. So, you need context, and with the Bad Batch as well, you need some context. Who are these clones suddenly coming along? The sequels deliver strong cinematic experiences. And one of the strongest arguments for the sequel trilogy is the sheer quality of the cinematic experience. These films were designed as major theatrical events on the biggest screens you can find, and they constantly deliver some of the most visually stunning moments in the entire Star Wars saga. And I'm going to list some. So the Falcon flying through Jakku when Rey finds it, and with Finn, and they're flying through AT-ATs and over the desert. Absolutely amazing. The Holdo maneuver. It was a stunning moment in the Last Jedi. Almost not really, almost as stunning as the seismic charge. The red and white battlefield of Crate, absolutely stunning. The Sinter Glacier in the Rise of Skywalker, when we first hear there's a mole, that glacier and its reflection, it's a beautiful shot. And then the planet-destroying fleet flying up an Exegol, all of that, absolutely amazing. It's stunning because it benefits from world-class production, seamlessly bringing together practical sets, costumes, cutting-edge CGI to create the Star Wars galaxy. realistically to spectacular effect. And it gives the films a sense of scale and emotion that's uniquely cinematic. In the very vein of Star Wars from the start, Star Wars has always been at the cutting edge of filmmaking, and it continues in that, and that's what makes them absolutely stunning to watch. And I don't think animation comes anywhere near close to some of those visuals.
When we start with The Mandalorian and Grogu, thankfully they brought back puppeteering and stop motion. And so when we have Grogu is actually a mix of CGI and puppeteering. And you see him, he's a rod puppet. In some of the behind the scenes with Jon Favreau, they show the actors playing with him and walking him through some of the scenes. And I wish they had shown how they mix that together more. And then you also have the beautiful scene that's towards the end. And I remember sitting in the theater and the two robots wake up in Nahada and they start to move and fight Din, and you're like, oh my God, is that stop motion? And it is. And the fact that they worked that into a Star Wars cinematic universe is beautiful. And then you also have the CGI piece with Rada the Hutt, which is also, they also use puppeteering for. So when you think about cinematics in Star Wars, I would argue that all Star Wars movies have a cinematic argument. When you think about Naboo and you think about not even just the Filoni universe, but I wouldn't just put that towards a drop in the bucket for the sequels. I would put that as a drop in the bucket for all of Star Wars.
I must admit, this is a really hard debate today, particularly to argue against. And I think Tiff is more than holding her own in this debate. So I'm super excited for round 3. I think it's going to be the decider, or at least I'm hoping so.
Coming into our close, we're flying into the trenches of the Death Star.
Super keen. Let's get into it.
My third argument is that the Filoni-Verse made us care about characters that we didn't realize that we needed to care about. My argument is that what they have brought to the story of the clones, which we started out with nameless and faceless stormtroopers, and we get to know them a little bit more in the prequels, and you realize that it's all coming from one person. It's all coming from Jango Fett, and he's a clone. And then you get farther into the Clone Wars and you learn about Rex and Fives and Echo, and suddenly you feel connected to the nameless and faceless soldiers that we've seen since 1977. And when you have something like that, then now you are emotionally attached to these characters, and it brings it home in a way that you never thought that it was going to. I think it's truly moving. I think that the fandom that you see from the Bad Batch and the clones to the fact that we even have the 501st today, that we have to sit here and they painstakingly go through costumes to make sure they are accurate to what is in the films and the TV shows, just shows how important the Filoni-Verse is to Star Wars, because I would argue that we wouldn't have that without the Filoni-Verse and the creation of the Clone Wars and the Bad Batch.
I think we would have the 501st without Dave Filoni, definitely. I don't know when they started, but they've been around for years. I've got a couple of critiques of Filoni's work. So I'd say much of it is built around established characters. There are the new characters, like you say, but he's focusing on established characters, existing timelines, and familiar eras. It's often to sort of make other things work. That approach can be rewarding for long-term fans, but it's often focused on expanding, connecting what already exists. So we get Ahsoka, Rex, Bo-Katan, Thrawn, largely derive their appeal from stories that fans already know. And you need to have watched all 7 seasons of the Clone Wars, some of which are not that interesting. I'm thinking of the Mon Cala arc, The Void, Jar Jar and Julia, for example. Or you need to have read all 9 of Timothy Zahns' Thrawn novels, the UU ones and the canon ones. So to sort of get what's going on. And the other thing I would say is scale. Filoni's projects often excel in long-form storytelling, but their television budgets and pacing can sometimes make them feel smaller in scale compared to the sequels. The sequel characters are more in-depth and stand better on their own. One of the strongest aspects of the sequel trilogy is its cast of new characters. Rey, Finn, Poe, and Kylo Ren all bring fresh perspectives to the Star Wars universe and are compelling enough to carry the story as protagonists in their own right. Rey embodies hope, determination, and self-discovery. Finn provides one of the saga's most unique character concepts, a stormtrooper who breaks free from the system that created him, and Poe brings charisma and leadership, growing from a reckless pilot into a responsible commander. Kylo Ren stands out as one of the franchise's most layered characters, torn between light and dark throughout the trilogy. And what makes the characters particularly effective is that their journeys are emotionally relatable. They struggle with identity, belonging, failure, expectation, redemption. And these are all universal themes that resonate with modern audiences. And one of the things that makes it so good is they are phenomenal actors. Oscar Isaac, John Boyega, Daisy Ridley, Adam Driver, all brilliant, brilliant actors, able to act as other characters. A lot of actors today act as themselves in different situations, but they're brilliant. Oh, and Naomi Aki as well, absolutely fantastic. So live action sustained storytelling allows actors to deep dive into their roles, bringing greater depth, believability, familiarity, and emotional connection than a voice actor is able to, I would say.
Disney wasn't ready to take the type of risk that they needed to take. And I honestly think that that can tie in with the character development of Finn and Rey. At the end of the day, bringing back Rey is now a Palpatine, and then at the end she takes on the name of Skywalker, I think really stunts the character growth. I think that the character could have been a new character, and we could have had groundbreaking expulsion forward in Star Wars had they not looped her character back around to something that had already been existing since the prequel movies and the original movies. And then back to Finn, again, I really think that they stunted his character. They should have shown more of him learning to use the Force and becoming a Jedi, because the story of coming from a stormtrooper to becoming a Jedi would have been beautiful. And again, something that would have been groundbreaking for Star Wars, but Disney wasn't I'm fearful enough to take the jump and take the chance. And I think that that really stunted them with their storytelling at the end of the day. I think that that's something that most Star Wars fans would agree that we should have seen Finn become a Jedi. As John Boyega has said, you put the lightsaber in my hand, you know that it's going to, something's going to happen. He's like, you didn't just put me on the poster with the lightsaber in my hand and tell me that I don't have the Force? Are you kidding?
This has been a huge debate. This has been probably the hardest debate to mark, I feel, that we've ever had to mark. In my eyes, you're both serious winners here, because that's a really tough debate and very, as I said earlier, enjoyable to listen to. I'm not the biggest sequel fan, and I've talked about that in our previous episode, but I had to really kind of stand outside of that perspective. So for me, unfortunately, I'm going to do this to Rogue, but you both scored 43 out of 45 for me. We have to have a winner. So it's up to Rogue now and his points to basically set someone free here.
It's about time you return serve, I think, given our recent episodes, Odie. I think this was one of the closest Honor the Gore battles that we've ever had, if not the closest. I don't think neither competitor made any significant factual errors. Both effectively challenged each other's position throughout the 3 rounds. And in the end, for me, only a single point separated them. Both competitors produced excellent rebuttals throughout the debate. So this was a genuine photo finish for me. Lexi arguably held a slight edge in Star Wars lore, drawing on Filoni's relationship with George Lucas. A tutor rewards not only knowledge, but also the ability to deliver persuasive arguments supported by clear evidence. So Tiff consistently answered the questions more directly, kept her arguments tightly focused on why the sequel trilogy stand on its own merits. I actually scored Tiff 44 out of 45 and Lexi 43 out of 45.
Congratulations. Tiff did amazing. She was prepared. I could see that she had notes to back herself up. Unfortunately, I didn't have that. I didn't have the research besides the knowledge that I have because I love Star Wars. So I think if I would have brought that to the table, I definitely think it would have been even more neck and neck.
I was amazed and impressed by your ability not to have notes and to just come up with the arguments. I thought that was far more impressive.
No, you the evidence you had, I felt like I was listening to a college thesis. You got it. You deserve this win. Seriously. You got this.
That was an argument I did not want to win. I stand by all my points that I made, but I love Dave Filoni's Star Wars better than I love the sequels.
I really admired your ability to debate something that you believe so strongly against and then do it so well.
Thank you so much for your time once again. I will create an Instagram post. I'll put up little snippets from our debate today, and I will release a poll where people can go on and vote for who they think should have won the tutor debate.
Yeah, and I just also just following on from what Odie said, I really don't want to take anything away from Lexi from this debate, because you're one of our strongest people that we've had on the debate before. So I do want to credit that, and we'd love to have you back on the show again if you'd like to come back on.
Yeah, thank you so much. I would love
Thank you.
to.
I totally expected you to win. I did not expect to win that whatsoever. And I love being here. I love that you asked me again. It's like the greatest compliment I've ever had, I think, to be asked back. And because of my Star Wars knowledge. Amazing.
You're kidding. You're now the coolest person I know.
Once again, you know, like this has been really fun and really enjoyable to share with you guys today. And thanks once again. We are going to have season 2. So you guys are our final episode of like where we invite people to come on to debate. Next episode, Rogue and I are going toe to toe.
Sibling rivalry activated.
That's right. You can find Tiff at tiff.oben on Instagram, but also at a con near you. You can also find Alexis at alexis.c.galaxy on Instagram, but also follow along for all the breakdowns, for all the catch-ups and Star Wars content creating. We love it. Now it's time for Honor the Gore. Honor the Gore. This is the last Honor the Gore that we'll probably have, because next week or next episode...
Well, in this format.
Next episode, we are going to be honouring the Gore in a little bit of a different way. We're going to honour our listeners by telling them what we've got planned for Season 2. Where this week it is run-of-the-mill, Honor the Gore.
In its absolute classic and finest form.
And we've got 2 questions to come up today. The final question that we had from the Village Jedi. You can check her out on TikTok, on Instagram, on anywhere you get your podcasts. She runs a podcast every Friday. She's great. She has some great opinions about Star Wars, and she's happy to share them. And she's going live recently, which is great, and was able to join her the other day, but she's doing a great job. Her question is, should have Sabine become a Jedi?
No, but I understand why Filoni did it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Filoni is really keen to tell a story about Master and Apprentice, and the best possible answer was to make Sabine a Jedi, and perhaps she always was intended. And to be honest, I thought it was going to go that way when she picked up the Darksaber in Rebels. Do you think that she could be a little bit of a gender flip around the son of the Mortis gods?
Well, that's interesting. I don't know. I think one of the most compelling things about Sabine in Rebels was that she wasn't a Jedi.
Yeah,
it's a Mandalorian, an artist, an engineer, a rebel fighter. She represented the idea that you didn't need the Force to stand alongside Jedi and make a difference. I like that. The galaxy already has Jedi. But it doesn't have many Sabine Wrens, and I felt like she was unique, but it detracted from who she was as a unique character, I thought.
So the quick answer is we both say no. We both say no to that.
Big X.
Okay. Next question. Who we got?
Well, we've got Bumblebee153, or known by her Instagram handle at Bumblebee153. She's back again with another question.
We love it. We liked her last question. This one. Bumblebee. Hopefully you hit us with a hard one. Let's go.
It's bound to be good. This one came earlier on in the season of our pod, and I think she's a Filoni fan, so let's be careful at how we answer this one. Has Dave Filoni improved Star Wars more than George Lucas did after the original trilogy?
My answer is no.
That's very short.
Yeah, but I'm going
to expand on that.
I'll swim into it. Shall I swim?
Go on. Go for a swimming.
Okay.
Let's get swimming.
The reason why I say no is because it's actually George Lucas that developed the Clone Wars alongside Dave Filoni. If you were to say that George Lucas enhanced the prequels or that Dave Filoni enhanced the prequels, Dave Filoni didn't enhance the prequels. George Lucas enhanced the prequels because they were his ideas ran within the writing room, that everything was passed through George and everything came about they were his ideas. Yes, Filoni had some ideas that he'd bring to the table, but if George Lucas didn't pass it, he didn't pass it. In the future, we have The Mandalorian. When you think about The Mandalorian, it's Favreau's baby. Yes, Ahsoka was Dave Filoni's, but it was developed that she was going to be Plo Koon's Padawan, and George Lucas says, no, that's Anakin's. And so we don't get this approach with just one person. You can't have the glory sit on one person's shoulders. Yes, Dave Filoni makes mistakes. Yes, Jon Favreau makes mistakes. Hell yes, George Lucas has clearly made some errors according to a lot of the fandom out there. But does Filoni make Star Wars better? I don't think so. Do you want my honest opinion who I think makes Star Wars better?
I don't know. Odie, is it part of this question?
Yes. I think it's us. I think it's the fans, and I think it's the people that love stories.
I agree.
And love Star Wars. And it's the people in the writing room that create good quality stories. Hell, let's talk about Tony Gilroy. Like, what would Star Wars be without Andor right now? Would we be as happy as what we are? You know?
Yeah, so true.
Yeah. The Andor series was some of the best Star Wars ever. Rogue One is something that I'll forever love. And if you listen to our ranking, it is my number one Star Wars movie, which is controversial. But here we are.
Controversial for some. You're forgetting an important contributor, Odie and Rogue at 10 and 12 years of age, creating Star Wars stories. And we always swore that George Lucas had a secret camera hidden in their house because we'd see a lot of our stories come to fruition.
Yes,
I would agree with you, Odie, in pretty much everything you said. But I do think Filoni deserves his credit. I feel like he took George's concepts that at times many fans were indifferent to and made them beloved. I feel like Anakin Skywalker became a far richer character through the Clone Wars. And Ahsoka went from arguably, I don't know if you remember this, but she was pretty disliked originally as a new Star Wars character. And he took to one of the most popular characters, probably in the entire franchise. And he turned clone troopers from faceless soldiers into individuals that genuinely, as fans, we cared about. So I feel like George definitely built the galaxy. He's the godfather. And Filoni is, I don't want to say Luca Brasi because that's savage, but he's almost the new godfather, really, isn't he?
He's Michael.
He's the student. He's Michael. And Filoni gave Star Wars a lot of soul. He filled it out. And so I agree with you, no, but he's the closest anyone has come.
Here's this then, a little bit off topic, but on topic. There's a lot of people out there that say Dave Filoni has ruined Star Wars.
No.
Can't be. You and I are of the same opinion about that, but there's some people saying that he's money hungry and it's Filoni slop.
All I would ask all I would say to those fans is if Dave Filoni hadn't taken the helm or hadn't been involved in the creativity of Star Wars, what is the inverse of what we would have got? Because fans don't have to look very hard or very far. Like, there's a lot of hate around stuff that Kathleen Kennedy produced. We could have had a lot worse. So just be grateful for the fact that Dave Filoni nailed a hell of a lot. Sure, there's pros and cons, just like there's pros and cons to George. But at the end of the day, the material that we've gotten, the content that we've gotten is aligned with George Lucas in his vision. I mean, what more could you want? It's about honouring the legacy that came before you.
Beautifully said. And I think that about wraps up our penultimate Honour the Gore, if not our final Honour the Gore. Thank you so much, Rogue, for coming along for this episode. We've had a blast. We've talked as much as we could about the Filoni-Verse. We've got our big debate, and thank you. Congratulations to the winner. I would have to say that some of the Star Wars that we're seeing right now is peak Star Wars. Maul, Shadow Lord, Andor.
It's very exciting.
Yeah,
it's very exciting to be a fan.
And
He's late 30s.
I cannot wait for Ahsoka season 2. I'm so pumped about that mystical lore that's being built right now around Ahsoka and bringing back the Mortis arc and everything else around that.
I'm excited for the further character exploration that we'll see. Super excited. It's great to be a Star Wars fan at the moment, isn't it? It's been a jam-packed episode, this one, and I can't wait for our fans to hear it. And definitely chime in. Tell us what you think. Where can you find us?
You can find us on Instagram at Odrog_culture, but you can also find us on YouTube. We've joined YouTube.
Oh!
You can find us at Odrog_culture. And we are on Facebook. So if you're a Facebook fan, you want to follow us along there, follow us along. We're going to add some shorts on there. I've put up some old ones that we've had on Instagram, but it's so good to branch out to something new. This page is going to be used a lot with what we have planned post our final episode of this season. We're super excited to share it with you. We're going to post some other Star Wars comments and things on there and just share some opinions of our own on there. And it's basically the one-stop shop of the Odrog brothers Facebook opinions. We'll market it how it is, whether it's Odie or whether it's Rogue saying what we're saying. But look, if you want to follow along, if you love Star Wars, please, Facebook, YouTube, we've just cracked open on that space. So watch along. We're going to release some serious content on our YouTube as well, where we're going to have some interviews, maybe some unedited episode reviews that we've done in this season as well. We might chuck some videos up there for you guys to check out. So please make sure you follow along. But in saying that, you could almost email us as well. You can always email us as well. Rogue, what's our email address?
Oh, please. odrog.culture@gmail.com.
Along.
We can't wait for you to be involved. And that's what really this podcast is all about. It's all about, obviously, Star Wars and you, the fans. So don't be shy. Send us an email. Send us an Instagram message. Jump on our Facebook. Give us a follow. We'd love to engage with you and we'd love to hear from you. And Odie, that just about wraps us up for this episode.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.